Hotep, Hotep, Hotep family. This is your brother Bangolu. I'm back. I'm back. Um, Last time we're supposed to finish this. I was supposed to finish the live on another in the afternoon, but I was busy, so they're just gonna be finishing it today. No, hopefully, because it's a very long. The presentation is quite long, so I think I'd rather do it in 3 times so that people can have time to absorb the information or go through it again or look for the references. So anyway, let's see how it goes. Um, so where were we last on the last video? We ended up here. So for people who want to understand what is going on, I hardly recommend you go and watch the first part, because what we're going to be talking about today is just a follow-up of what was happening last time. So I think we reached slide 12, the baptism and the initiation. Now to slide 13, the exposition of the initiate child. Yeah, so we're supposed to move forward from here. As always, before we start, I would like to say, before we start, I would like to say a few words to thank the ancestors for their guidance and their energy, their love, to thank the Most High, to thank our great mother, Mama Wandombi, for allowing us to have this beautiful experience of life on this planet, to thank Mama Ntoto for allowing us to materialize in her womb. We are very grateful for the opportunity. Okay, family. As we were saying last time, after the initiation or the birth, when the child is given the name, according to our traditions, the child is exposed to the community for the community to give wishes to the child. Usually, this is something very, actually what you see here with this with Rafiki in the movie, putting some putting this red clay on the forehead, this powder on the forehead of the child. It can be done in many ways. It's like it's a form of blessing, but this can be done in many ways. And some people will find it gross, obviously, but in some parts of Africa, actually most part of Africa, the elders will be coming and they will be spitting on the head of the child, because spitting on someone's head is the way they used to is the way they used to convey the blessings. And it's not done randomly. It's done because of the word of the spit that you see in the Kemetic text, in the ancient Egyptian mythology. They say that Atum spat, Shu, and Tefnut. So this spitting is not randomly. This is not put there randomly. The words are chosen accordingly. This spitting is used because spitting is the word for blessing as well. Spitting is on someone's is blessing that person, or cursing that person. It depends on the intention that is put behind. So what they will be using is that the elders will be spitting a little bit on your forehead, like something like that, and when they do that, they say the words of blessing. And in the work of the brother Dibombari Mbock that I was talking about the other day, he actually went and made the research on why spitting, and he realized that the words for the spit are mate. To say spit is mate. It joins these words that you saw here, that we saw the other day, for my to say friend, mati. To say spit or mate in English. To say spit we say mate in many African languages, and that mate is a word for my So it's to put so that gesture in itself is like bringing order to the life of the kid. It's the highest form of blessing that you can have in the tradition. So that said, next slide. Just give me a second. Uh, so here in this next slide, this is a scene. This is the scene in which Mufasa dies in the movie. This is the scene in which Mufasa dies in the movie, and this scene, in this scene, as you see it here, corresponds to this other event. This is the crossing of the River Mara. I put it here but I think there's an actual video of that. I found this video on YouTube, so let me actually look for the video and have it to you. Let me put the video here so that you can. Oh, I forgot to switch the screen. So, as I was saying, during the baptism, no, I even forgot to put the screen there. I did switch the screen last time, but no problem. The images that I was talking about were these first two images. This one for the baptism scene, and this one for the exposition. So essentially, this is what I was commenting on. In any case, we saw it last time, so you can go and check the video. I was just adding some information on what has been done already prior to that. So here in this scene, this is the crossing of the river Mara, and this is the most important wildlife event that you see all over Africa. It's the migration of the wildebeest. The wildebeests are the most numerous animals that you find in Africa or throughout Africa. This is why our ancestors used them as the symbol of prosperity and reproduction and everything. This is why you see the cow and the horns everywhere. It's not random. It's not obviously not done randomly. Now I'm just giving you like the overview of why, but it's because of the prosperity that these animals are bringing and are representing, and also the prosperity that they are bringing. Because you have to realize that if you have a million wildebeests roaming around, when they are stopping in an area for a certain amount of time, what they are leaving in that area is manure, and that manure is what all the plants that are growing in that area will be using as fertilizer to grow. So they essentially move with rain. They follow the rain all over the year, and as they follow the rain, they also fertilize the area by their motion. So our ancestors have codified this animal, understood this animal as the brink of prosperity. They are prosperous themselves because of their number, as you see how numerous they are. There are millions of wildebeests in Africa, and and uh, and as they move, they bring prosperity to those areas. They graze on the land, and then they fertilize the land so that the people that are left behind can actually use those spots of land to make agriculture for a short period of time before the season of the wildebeest motion comes about. So they are actually the ones that are fertilizing a big portion, like half of Africa, half of the continent is being fertilized by the wildebeest motion throughout the year. So these are not just random animals and these are not just these are very important animals in terms of ecosystem. So our ancestors had to observe them for a long time, and this is actually how they decided that they would take it. They will tame the cows, because cows were not animals. They were not always domestic animals. Cows were just a part of the were wildebeest before. So it's by true selection and different selections that our ancestors we reached to the variety of cows that we are having now. But initially, the cows and wildebeest are one and the same animal. So you have to consider that you have to consider that there are these are the family that we are talking about, and this family is because of these attributes that our ancestors actually decided that, okay, if this animal is the one that is responsible for prosperity on the land, we better make sure that we have those animals closer to us to do the same thing in our fields. So when they decided that they will start taking on agriculture, they took these animals out of the jungle and brought them with them in the places they settled in. They tamed them and brought them with them. So for that same reason, because of the versatility of of these animals and what they could and what the energy that they are in ontology, and even the names for cows are very specific in African languages. I'm not going to be talking about that specifically today because there's a whole presentation that I'm making about this. So I will let that be for for a while. But today I wanted to show this great migration in another aspect. There's this aspect of fertility. I'm going to bring it about in another presentation that I'm going to be doing on the on the goddess Nut, on the queen of the sky, and that one is going to be much more extensive, and that one is going to go into deeper concept, into the physics of things, into the mathematics of things. So I rather have the whole thing be in one rather than, so here I'm just explaining small things here and there so that to create a kind of context. Okay, that said, the aspect in which I want to be talking about the wildebeest today is the aspect of the purification, of their great migration, of the crossing of the river here. As I said, these animals are very intuitive animals, and they follow their intuition all the time. This is why our ancestors actually chose this animal, the cow. They have a great ability to sense, to feel emotions, and they use their intuition to navigate around the world, around their environment. Whenever they feel like it's gonna rain, they follow that intuition wherever it takes them, and usually it rains over there. So they are very much in tune with the cosmic cycles. If you see, I don't want to say that I wouldn't be going in there, but I'm already in there, so let's just, if you see for instance how the goddess, no, I don't have the images here, so maybe I rather not go into that, because if you look at the image of the goddess Nut, as she represents the sky, they used, and she's also represented with a cow. The reason is because these animals are very in tune with cosmic cycles. So if you want to talk about cosmic cycles, you take the wildebeest because they really follow it. They don't diverge from it in a single bit. They follow the rain, they follow the cycle, and they repeat the cycle all over and all over again. They are very much in tune with with the environment. They are very much in tune with the universe, and it's why I repeat again, it's why our ancestors chose these animals. These animals that you see in the text are not chosen randomly. They are chosen for specific aspects that they embody, for their ontology, for the way they are, for what they are essentially, for their place in on this planet and in the cosmos. In if you are talking about the macrocosm, so during this great migration, one of the problem of having these big herds and hurts like this is the same problem that humanity is having now. Is that the more numerous you are on the planet, the more susceptible you are for any kind of pandemic or any kind of disease or such things like that. Is that if you let them proliferate, then they totally wipe them. You have a risk of wiping out the entire population. So the nature has a way of regulating all this stuff. And one of these in the wild, what happens is the migration that regulates the population of the wildebeest. During their migration, they follow during the dry season. They have to leave the parts where they are and follow the rain and go to greener places. So when they cross the desert, they cross the entire, they go from the area of South Africa, around South Africa, up to Kenya. So when they are moving on this path, running away from the desert, a lot of them will be dying because of the heat. Some of them will be dying because of predators. Some of them will be dying, but the bulk of them dies in the river when they are crossing the river Mara, because here they are almost at their final destination. After crossing this river on the other side, usually the pasture are very green. So the only thing that they have to do is cross the river. But since they already travel for a long, long time, or usually around that time is almost is usually around a month or more, when they reach that area, they're already tired, and a lot of them actually perish in the river, and everyone that is weak perishes, everyone that is sick perishes. So our ancestors understood that as a purification passage for the entire herd. So this is what was coming into their mind. So they understood that what was happening here it played in a bigger scheme. So since the wildebeests are following a certain cosmic cycle, around that period of the year should be the period of purification. It codified a lot of rituals and a lot of ceremonies in Africa. I'm just going to be saying that and leave it as that for the time being. So here, um, so here you have the Great Migration. Let me actually put it so that you can see it. Okay, so here you have the Great Migration. This is the end of the Great Migration. They jump in the what you see, the scene that will become what the scene where Mufasa dies in the movie. So here is the original scene, and then so you see how much of them are actually crossing the river. You see how numerous they are. So they will be coming like this in the whole herd will be crossing. And as they are crossing, the first time when they are crossing is usually it's not very deadly because the current are not strong yet. But as they stand on that side, when they are going back, usually because after that they have to go back. When they are crossing back, after their birthing period and stuff like this, when they are crossing the river back again after almost a year, no, what am I saying, when they are crossing the river back, the currents are usually stronger. So you see, and if some of these animals are not careful, they get taken away by the current, and this is not the only thing that kills them. The second thing that usually kills them is also the fact that they pile up, as you saw there, they pile up in one corner, and if the places that they chose to cross is not proper, they will pile up in that area, and as they pile up in those areas like this, they don't get the opportunity to get out of the water. They get tired by trying, and eventually they die there, and they are taken away by the current. So this is for what has to do with the Great Migration. There's a lot of videos like this. There are documentaries that have been done on the Great Migration of the wildebeest. I really, really, really recommend you watch it. It's one of the most spectacular thing happening in nature. And as I'm hinting here, there is no way you understand African spirituality, African culture, African tradition, African whatever, without having a good understanding of what happens in nature. Because as you see, when you have uh, when you have deities and stuff like this, usually they are represented with animal head, or it's not done randomly. It's done because of some specific aspects of those animals embodied. And the only way you understand that is by looking at those animals in their natural state. What are they? How do they behave? What is their and most importantly, what is their role in keeping balance? Because what our ancestors were interested in codifying all this was balance. They were interested in understanding how to keep the balance in the ecosystem on this planet, in the environment, and how to keep the balance in a cosmic at a cosmic level. So the animals that they choose to embody some of these concepts were animals that were very essential in keeping that balance, in the ecosystem. And wildebeest, as I show, as you can see here, wildebeest with their migration, as I was trying to explain, are very important. When I say very important, is to say the least. They are very much important in the ecosystem, in the African ecosystem, for many regards. So that said, we can actually move on. As I said, I urge you to look at this wildebeest migration because it will allow you to understand some of the concepts that I'm going to be talking about today. So during this wildebeest migration, this is the period in which is what happens is their purification time, and a lot of them die. So the concept here to convey is the concept of death, of purification, and it's the same thing that happens in the movie with the death of Mufasa. So Mufasa dies in the movie here. But as I said in the previous video, Mufasa and Simba are one and the same person. Don't actually consider them, don't consider them separately, because they are not. Mufasa and Simba are one and the same. So when we are in this scene and Mufasa dies, Simba also dies, and I will show it later. Obviously, in the movie, they cannot show it because the movie has been made also for kids. You don't want to traumatize. Already, kids that are watching it are already traumatized because Mufasa dies. If they realize that Mufasa is Simba also, and Simba is also dead in that time, if Simba also dies in the scene, it will be too much for the kids, and it will be difficult to explain what happens later. So symbolically, Simba and Mufasa are the same. As I said, I explained it already in the first part. So don't consider them separately because here we are talking about the cycle of the sun. So the sun is just in different phases. And as I said in the first part, we are extensions of our parents. We are the next generation, let's say the next iteration, because life is a fractal form. So we are the next iteration of the same energy. So we are the extension of our parents into the future, but we and our parents exist in the same time. Sometimes I saw some pictures on Facebook, I think 6 generation of people existing in the same time. So that is how long you have the same energy repeating itself into the future. But those 6 generations exist in the same time. So our ancestors understood this concept, and they understood that the present, the past, and the future is just one and the same. It's just, what are you looking at? If you are looking at now, you are living in now. If you are looking at tomorrow, you'll be living in tomorrow. If you are looking at yesterday, you'll be living in yesterday. So what they actually essentially did is that they understood that concept and they codified even in language. As I said, in my language, to say yesterday in Ngomala, which is a language of Western Cameroon, to say yesterday we say yo, to say tomorrow we say yo. It's the same thing because yesterday and tomorrow is the same. And to say today we say lio, and this lio is the same as the lo that you find in other African languages meaning sun. So the only thing that differentiates today and yesterday is that you're actually watching at the sun right now. That's it. That in the way our ancestors conceptualize it, is that is the point of direction where you are looking at. So this is what defines where the reality that you are living in. If not, all of those realities are existing. That said, that was to explain why I'm saying that Simba and Mufasa are the same, because we are talking about the sun here. Um, so when Mufasa dies, which is Simba, uh, is the sunset, is corresponding to a sunset. And as a matter of fact, when Mufasa dies and Scar takes power, the whole scene of the movie changes and switches to night. So this is what you see here. This is the night. And from that moment on, every scene that has to do with Scar will usually be in the night or on the after in the or late in the afternoon. So here I titled this slide "The Kingdom of the Night." So why so is because if you look at YouTube, you will find some people that made some connections between the movie The Lion King and the story, the Epic of the Mande, the story of Sunjata Keita. But this connection is effective But there is also an earlier connection between the story of Sunjata Keita and the story of Heru or Horus in the ancient Egyptian mythology, in the Kemetic mythology, because it's the same people that migrated to West Africa. The people that were living there, all these people that we call today Mandinka, were the people that were part of the people of the 42 tribes that created the ancient Egyptian civilization. So obviously, when they went back, after all the invasions, they went back with all the knowledge that they had gathered there. So they codified it differently because of the environment in which they were living. So Soso is what became the name of the kingdom of Sumaoro-Kante, and Sumaoro-Kante is the foe of the opponent of Sunjata Keita. And Jata there means lion, as a matter of fact. So here we are coherent, and we are in a coherent system. This has been shown by the brother Dibombari Mbock in some of his work. It's in 3 or 4 of his books. He talks about that extensively. I don't want to get into that because we are gonna be. I'm gonna make a special video on that specific aspect. But here I just wanted to make a hint of just drive some kind of interest that there is this connection that has already been made, and we can actually consolidate those connections using African languages to show you exactly why it's so. And I'm just giving here one example. When they say that the king of Sumaoro-Kante, the foe of Sunjata Keita, is the king of Soso. Soso here means night in some African languages. And Soso here means chaos in some African languages. So he's the king of chaos. And the words for chaos and the words for night in African languages are the same. We'll see it as we go. Because it's during the night that a lot of the chaos happens. It's the time of uncertainty. For there's a lot of it that has to do with the spiritual aspect of life, but a lot of it also has to do with the natural aspect of things. A lot of animals lose their life during the night because some predators are very active at night, and they actually bring a lot of chaos. And as the animals or the herds get attacked by the lion, maybe in the night, a lot of them lose direction. They don't know where they don't they get lost, and a lot of chaos happens because of the lack of visibility and many other factors. So the night is associated with chaos in uh, in African traditions. So to say night in Manda, for instance, we say kilo. In Matumbi we say kilo. In Matengo we say kilo. In Kwegu you say nikiri. These kilo are the same words that we saw the other time to say sun here, for instance. When you say kilo ukulu here, it's the same word. When you say kera here, it's the same word. It's just the K and the R are interchangeable, and the L are the R and the L are interchangeable, as I said, and the G and the K are interchangeable. So you are still in a coherent system here. And that said, we can actually go back to where we were. Okay. So, or you can have these forms. In Binandere you have Tumba, or Oluganda you have Tumbi, or Lugungu you have Tumbi. These Tumbi are the same as Atum, as we saw again the other day. Atum, part of the circle of life here. Okay, so it's one of the phases of the sun in the circle of life. So when we get there, now during the night, who comes into play? Scar. Scar becomes the king. But why the name Scar? The people that did the movie were very clever. The name Scar wasn't the name Scar wasn't random. The name Scar was not random at all. And here's why they put the name Scar. If you're actually interested, you can if you're interested, you can check this out. Yes, now forgot what I was looking for, but no problem. So here's the name. Here's why they chose the word Scar, and I say Scar slash Set because Set is the foe of the opponent of Osiris, of Osar in the Kemetic tradition, in the ancient Egyptian mythology. Set will kill Osiris and divide his body into pieces. This is exactly Scar will kill Mufasa. The division doesn't take place, is not seen in the movie, but takes another form. I'm not going to go into that, if not, it's going to be too lengthy. So let's just move on. This is what Scar here. The words for scar, what the words for scar in African languages, as I said, the name was not chosen. The name was chosen according to what they were trying to represent. Set usually in the mythology is represented as either, can be represented as a jackal, can be represented uh, as a pig. Set can be a donkey, an ass. So those are the animals that are usually used to represent Set. Uh, Set can also be some spotted animals for other reasons, because Set and again Set is another side. It's another side of the same. Is the other part of the same coin, as I said. Set and Simba slash Mufasa are just one and the same. Set and Mufasa are the same. Scar and Mufasa are the same. They are just two sides of the same coin. This is why they actually occupy the same role, the role of king. So to say Scar, in Bikele you say Bam, in Nyamwezi you say Ibamba, in Goli you say Ebama, in Swahili you say Tembo. This Ama, Bam, Bama, Bam, Bamba here that you see here is the generic form that is been looked for here. This in Tembo is the same as Atum. We saw it earlier in the Walo we say Kari, the Nyembe we say Yokiri. Again, we are in the form of Kiri, Kera, Kulu. These are the forms that we saw earlier again. So you see it here is repeating itself. These are the name for the scar. But you also have Ibanga, Libando, Banga, Ponde. Ponde, B and P are interchangeable. So Bando and Ponde is the same, and it's the same as Banga. You have a migration from G to D. So these are the same structure, but you also have Bere. But here Bere I added this because Bere in Mandinka to say as you say Bara. So you have this form that is associated to that because of the fact that we're talking about axis and now I said the kingdom of the night. Set is the one that is bringing disorder and confusion. So how do you say disorder and confusion? In Beni you say Sire. In Pegetegu you say Kire. In Nangadama you say Kiri. So you have the same structure like Kari, Yokiri here that are repeating itself. So the name of the disorder and confusion is exactly the name of Scar. And so he's embodying those elements, and those elements are his name. So when you say Scar, is because they wanted to regroup all these concepts that have been. You see how when you say Scar, it carries all these meanings, and these meanings are these names, these words, and all these words are the same that we've been seeing all over the place. We've been seeing them here, meaning lion, sun, and so on. So he's carrying all those concepts with him, but he's carrying those concepts because of what he's supposed to embody. And here we are talking about chaos and disorder, which is the other face of order and harmony. So nothing in Okanisi you say Soso. This is why I said the king of the night, and I added there Soso. In Okanisi you say Soso to say nothing. In Sa you say Kari to say nothing. In Lingala you say Pamba. This in Pamba is the same as Bamba here. The P and the B are interchangeable. So he's the king of the nothingness, when the land is barren and cannot produce any fruits. In Ba you say Kari. So this is what the ancestors were trying to show when in the mythology they codified Set as as that. And the movie makes it clear here, because when the set comes into play in the movie, just seconds after this scene that you see here on the right. But this scene corresponds to this one on the left, and this scene is the exile of the dead into the duat. The duat is the underworld, and you can understand it also as the womb of the mother of the mother, or the womb of earth, as you wish it, from the higher planes to the lower planes. So here you have the ancient Egyptian deity Anubis, and Anubis is preparing the mummy, the dead to be put on in the ground, to be buried. So he's doing the mummification ritual, and all the rituals that he's doing here to prepare the dead to retrieve to the underworld is what you see here being done in the movie. Here, one of the animals that are usually used to represent Anubis um, are scavengers. The animals that are used to represent Anubis are scavengers, and why? Because he's responsible for purification. He's the one. He's the animal. He's the deity that is responsible for purification. He does the purification for living beings as well as for dead, for people that are already dead, to prepare them for their trip to the underworld. And as I said, he's doing that purification. This is the same thing that happens during this migration of the wildebeest. He's represented by these scavengers because the scavengers are the ones that are doing the purification. They purify the herds by taking out the weak animals, and in that regard, you will have hyenas doing that. Uh, you have jackals doing that, taking out the weakest of the newborns. You have those some set of animals that will be doing that. You will have she's also you can also use spotted animals because of the duality that they represent. They represent light and the yellow light of the sun, and they also represent the night. So they usually have a yellow background with spotted spot of night on with spots of night on them. So they have that ambivalence that allows them to be both good and bad. So this is what our ancestors were looking for in those animals. So those animals are usually used to represent this concept because of their ability to clean up the herds. They will go out there. If you look in the wild and you look at any documentary, you actually see it happening lifetime. You see these animals, they go right into the million wildebeest packed around the place, and they go and around looking for any animal that looks sick or tired or whatever. And these are the animals that they will be attacking. So by doing that, they're actually cleaning the earth from all of the weakest elements inside the earth, and this is what they will be doing. So in that regard, they are embodying that purification aspect of the term. But Anubis can also be represented as another way of representing Anubis and Sobek are one and the same. So they do the same thing. So the deity Sobek, and Sobek is usually represented with a crocodile head. Why? Because the crocodile in the crossing of the river Mara does the same thing. Any weak animal here has to pass through. The crocodiles will get them. So in that regard, the crocodiles are the ones opening the gates or allowing anyone who wants to cross. The herd has to pay a price before they can cross. That price is the price of those they let the weakest elements in the river, and the crocodiles claim them. So that is one of so that is the energy of Anubis. He's there for the purification. So whenever someone dies, he's the one that does this exile, taking the person to the underworld and purifying the energy of the person before the person goes. This is how our ancestors understood it, because they realized that these animals were all born around the same period of the year. There are some planets, there are a set of planets that are around. So they understood that this cannot be random. There is some form of order that is allowing those kind of things to happen. So anywhere there is order, there is some forces that is ordering it. So they codify that force, and they call that force, we call that force the Anubis, but um, There are words for it for that energy in African languages, and the one that you will find that is the most recurrent is soapy or soapy. Actually, when you say soap in English, it's an evolution of that term. It's not even an evolution because the word soap in itself is in African languages to say to wash, and this is a term that is from originally from those languages, and you see it all over the place. So the name of the so his name is actually soap. You can when you say soap, that is the name of the deity that you are calling. Why? Because he's doing the purification. What does the soap does? The purification. So we are here, we are very coherent, and our ancestors were very coherent in this sense. What they were looking for is what is the general kind of energy in the universe. All the elements that will be doing the same kind of things will be grouped together as coming from the same essential energy, and it's that energy that they call with the name of that thing that they were doing, the purification. So because all those elements, all those vultures and hyenas and jackals, what they essentially do, all those scavengers, they clean up the place. Because can you imagine with those million wildebeests when there's the migration, if just thousands of these wildebeest die there and no one cleans it, it's going to generate a lot of diseases that is going to wipe out a lot of population. Many people don't actually know this information, but the animals in the wild that eat most meat are vultures. They eat more meat than any other form of life, anything existing. And they eat like 10 times more meat than the second in line because they do that. They look at they purify they do the all their job is to purify the area from any dead corpse. And as they do that, they transform that energy, that dead energy of a dead meat, into lively energy to feed themselves and their progeny. This is something that is very impressive. Hyenas does do the same thing, and for hyenas is even more impressive because as hyenas are mammals, the milk of the hyena milk is one of the most nutritious milk in animal kingdom, which is something that should be normally counterintuitive because they feed mostly on corpse. So you expect their milk to be of poor quality, but it's the opposite. So they actually have that ability of transforming something that is dead into something that is very lively to feed their young, which is very impressive. And when our ancestors saw that, they understood that there was some higher forces that were governing these kind of factors. Because if you have a single similar kind of behavior and those animals are not even from the same family, though some of them are birds and others are mammals and others are of different kinds, what is the governing factor that will make them have the same kind of behavior? So this is what they actually codified as deities. When you see those deities, what they are the underlying governing factors, the mental structure, the ontology that will create those kind of behavior. And they understood that those kind of behaviors were created because of the period in which those animals were born. And it had a relationship with the stars, so they had to study the stars to understand them. So you see, this is something that is very complex. It's not just it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of different backgrounds in science, from biology to astronomy, to kind of codify these things. So we really have to take interest into sciences, because this is what is going to help us understand what is happening here. So here you have three hyenas that are here to represent this, to represent Anubis. And why are they three? The movies, even the numbers are not random. They did it on purpose to put three. Why? Because in Bamanan, for instance, in West Africa, to say three, you say Saba. And this Saba is the name of the deity. As I said, his name is Saba, Sopi, Soap, all these names with those structure, SB. So here is what you have here. And that those names are usually named, those titles are the title, or those structures. Also what you will see, some meaning to purify, to cure, to heal, something like so, stuff like that. And it gives me the opportunity to give to to thank our ancestor, Dr. Sebi, who did a tremendous amount of work in bringing us a body of knowledge that will enable us to start feeding properly, to start, and here I'm talking about the alkaline electric diet. And you see, the name Sebi in itself is the name of this deity. So, and what Dr. Sebi did all his life is trying to help people purify themselves. This so energy doesn't go around the world randomly. This is what I'm trying to say here. Energy doesn't go around the world randomly. So that name in itself, Dr. Sebi, this is the name of the deity himself. Sebi, Saba. So this is what we are talking about here. What it does purify. So this is what we are talking about here. This is what we are talking about here. So there are three here because of that. Because the name of to say three, you say Saba, and to say triangle, for instance, in Bamana, you say Kere Saba, meaning three sides. So this is what we are saying here. So here they are here to organize that exile. Why? To chase away the deceased, or to bring the deceased on in the underworld. And as you see here, it doesn't show. Here it shows. It kind of shows in the movie. This you see, they even make it that part on which Simba is traveling as looking as a river. It doesn't show, they don't show it clearly, but if you look clearly at this, if you look at the scene from closer, you see that it looks like a river flowing, like it looks like a river flowing, and he's running on the river here. And Simba and the sun are one and the same, as I said. So this is why as Simba is running away, the sun is setting, because they are one and the same. So their motion is one and the same. So Simba is running away and the sun is setting. So this is just genius. What they did here is trying to take some concepts that were already codified in a way, repackage them and recodify them, and then sell it to us, and we are buying it. And really, we are buying it when it's coming from our traditions. But most of us, you look at this tradition, and I will be talking about myself. If you told me a few years ago, like to look at this kind of stuff, I would be like, hell no. Like you see with all the no witchcraft and stuff like this. But when it's shown like this in a movie, we all watch it. Like this, and we even pay for it before we go and watch it. We pay for it to go and watch our own traditions that have been repackaged and then sold to us. It almost seems like what Dr. Clark will say. He's like, why are you so naive that you let someone take something that you created, repackage it, and sell it back to you, and enslave you through it? Like this is so we actually go and pay to watch these movies, which have been created out of our tradition, but the same tradition sometimes we say that they are diabolic, and then we are not going to be looking at them, which is very, very ironic here. It's very funny. It's very funny here. It's very funny. Anyway, move on. So here I just put this image because it was fun. You see, sometimes you will see the vultures. Some of these vultures, they don't have a strong beak enough to break through the carcass, so they have to let it rot for. So in the meantime, to lay claim, they stand on it like this and they surf on it until it goes in their last resting place in the current. So it's usually kind of fun. There are some videos on YouTube that is showing that. I couldn't find. I haven't looked into that, but I found this image and it was fun, so I'm just showing here. It shows sometimes they will be surfing on the corpse and they so this scene is what creates this kind of scene here. So as I said, when in that regard, we saw Simba running, but it was Simba was running on his way to the underworld. So Simba is already dead, and this is what this scene is showing here, because the vultures won't be running on something that is still alive. So when you see vultures coming on Simba here, it's because Simba is actually dead. But that scene is not only the vultures has been chosen there for a very specific purpose. Why? Because the vulture in the cleaning is not only is also it's also representing Ma'at. Ma'at here being intended as harmony, justice, truth, and all these higher principles that were governing the life of our ancestors, and that we are called to embody today to create a stable society. So Ma'at was represented as a vulture, and as you see here, she was represented with wings. These wings like this, these are the wings of the vulture. So here you have another form of representation that hold. And Ma'at is the balance of judgment. So when you see that scene where Simba is there with all those vultures, he's being judged. So this is the scene. This is what. So after the hyenas will be kicking you out to the underworld, they take you here. So they take you here. The exile that they are doing is your exile to the judgment place. So you go to the judgment. So that scene is meant to represent the judgment. And here in the judgment, the heart of the deceased is weighted against the feather of justice. If your heart was heavy, meaning that you did a lot of let's say you just created a lot of chaos around you, being of any kind, it makes your heart heavy, and as your heart gets heavy, it tips down the balance with the feather. And here you have an animal that is half kind of dog and half and with the head of a crocodile. And as I said, this animal is the purification animal. This animal is the animal that will do the ultimate purification. If your heart isn't light enough, this animal will be eating your heart. So this animal and is still Anubis. This is because this is what that energy does. It does the purification. So this is what we are talking about here. He's the one that is doing the waiting, but he does it on the balance of Ma'at. Ma'at is represented with the can be represented with the vulture. So this is what we are seeing here in the movie. This is exactly what they are showing here. Uh, and here you pass the judgment. You have to go to your final destination. In tradition, we say you have to go to the ancestors' village, and that trip is not an easy trip. There is still some chaos, lingering chaos hiding in there in the form of the serpent Apep in the or Apophis in the tradition. For those of you back then, we used to watch Stargate, the movie Stargate. There was one character named Apophis that was like the main the main villain in the movie in the TV series. So Apophis here is in the text in the mythology is the serpent. Is the serpent here? So here you have this image here that will become this other one on the right. This image on the left will become this other one on the right. So why am I saying that? Sorry. Why am I saying that image those images are one and the same? One will be creating another one. This image on the one image will create another one. This one on the left will create the scene, this scene in the movie. But to understand that, you have to understand. I said as when I started this slide, Pumbaa the knife. Pumbaa here in the movie is the knife, and Timon is this cat. You see here why they use a meerkat to represent to represent Timon in the movie. Timon is a meerkat because of the ability of the meerkat to kill snakes. For that very simple fact, meerkats are mongoose, and mongoose have that great ability of dealing with snakes. So they took the meerkat for that reason. And the name Timon is not random. As the name Pumbaa is not random. Pumbaa here is the knife, and Timon here is the cat, for the reasons that I just gave. And here, as you see, the cat is the one handling the knife, and Timon is the one riding Pumbaa to destination. This is not done randomly. They could be running side by side. It's not like this one doesn't know how to ride. How to run. The reason why one is on top of the other is because one is guiding the other towards action. So Pumbaa here is the knife and Timon is the cat. And let us move on And this cat here being Timon is meant to represent Set, either Set or Anubis, or sometimes both. It depends on the circumstances, and I will show here. Sometimes they are confounded when they are in the underworld, and I will show why here. Okay, so here is why Pumba is the knife. To say knife in Bangi, you say a pamba. You see how where the word pamba. As I said in the first video, the vowels don't count in the expression of these languages. The vowels don't count at all. So to say knife, you say a pamba. In Manda, you say pamba. In Tamambo, you say simba. You see, simba here means also knife. So here, when I tell you that we are always talking about energy, that we are in different phases, some other languages don't care. They put this simba here because it's what they are talking about, some other phases, but it can be, the phases are interchangeable in the languages. Some people will be using this name to mean this phase, and some other will be using that other one according to their understanding of where they are living. It's usually related to their ecosystem. What are those animals that they are talking about, or the animals that are bearing those names in their languages doing around? So this Simba doesn't necessarily mean lion in all languages. Some language would use Simba to say uh, we use Simba for the leopard, for instance. So according to what they are, to the animal that has that name, in their local environment, they will be constructing a different kind of not a different mythology, but the symbols will be inverted. And this is something that we have to be cognizant of, because you can look at the same thing, but you don't know that you are looking at the same thing. Actually, you can look at the same exact the traditions, or look at the same exact rites of passage or whatever, and you think that they are different because you see that they are having a different expressions. But it's just because if you look at the words that are codifying those traditions, you see that they are the same. So there is a group, and they are all grouped. So if you look at that group and you go to another reference point, you look at what those groups corresponds in another reference point. Maybe if you are in a Sudanese area, you look at what it represents in the kind of, let's say, Bantu land. You can derive what those traditions will be looking at in the other area, in another area. They will be doing the same thing, but they will be doing something different. So if you don't understand how the whole thing is organized and codified, how symbolism is created, you won't understand what is happening. You won't really understand what is happening. So here we are talking about the knife, the magic of symbolism. So here's the knife. In Oluganda you have Kambe. In Banda you have Kamba. In Ikalanga you have Panga. In Kara you have Panda. In Komu you have Pindi. In Kewere you have Banda. In Tirio you have Giri, and in Nikoma you have Gero. So here are the words for the warthog to show you that they are the same. So you say this Giri, Gero. Here you have Giri, Ngili, the L and R are interchangeable. In Gikuyu you have Ngiri. In Sizaki you have Ngiri. In Kewere you have Ngili. In Kwaya you have Ngiri. So these are the words. Or you have Bango here. This is the same as Panga. B and P are also interchangeable, and the vowels don't count, so we are in the same system. So you have Mbanda. In Mbanda you have Bangu. In Goni you have Pangu. In Gindo you have Pango. But the Kiswahili has both forms, Mbango and Ngiri. So you see, we are the is what you cannot, there's no arguing after seeing this. What are you going to be saying? The words for the warthog are the word for the knife, and the word for the knife are the words for the scar, to tell you. So when I'm saying that this animal here is meant to represent Set, because this is what I will say, that the knife here is Set, and even the meerkat is Set / Anubis. I know what I'm talking about here, because I said that the knife here says a panda or panda. But if you go back, when we saw scar here, scar we say bam or bamba. I said here that bam is the same, and B and D are interchangeable in the language. So if you have bamba and you have panda, we are still in the same reference. We are still in the same reference. Here, So if you have Pamba and Bamba, you are still, it's the same. So Pamba and Bamba is the same, and Bam is the same. You just lost one of the duplication of the phoneme. So this is essentially what I was trying to show, that we're actually running around, and the energy that we're talking about it's the same energy that is continuing to show up in these characters. So it's just normal. It's normal because, as I said, we are talking about the sun, and there's only one sun. You can catch the sun in the morning when it's still, the rays are not even warm enough yet, and you can catch the sun at noon when the rays are very hot. There is the same sun, but the feeling that you're having when you are in those two circumstances are not the same. The energies that the sun is feeding us in those moments is not the same. The If you catch the sun when the sun is emitting solar flares, it's not the same energy that you are getting. So we are talking about one and the same things, but it's the same, that same thing is doing different things in those aspects. So, and since they name the thing in Africa, in symbolism, you name the thing after what it does, not after what you think it is. No, you see what the energy does, and you name it after what it does. So when you see something that is purifying and you have words for purification, this is how you name it, because it's essentially what it does. And as our ancestors understood life, naming something is giving it purpose, because it's the name that gives the ultimate purpose. It's the names that we are carrying, even us as human beings, as I was saying in the beginning in the beginning today, when they are giving the name to a child, the name that they are giving is a wish to that person. It's a wish for that person. It's like setting up what that person will be doing in its life. And for those of you who read the book Trevor Noah had wrote recently, Born a Crime, you will see he talks about this in the movie, in the book, a lot in his book, giving these names and showing how these names are actually guiding the life of his family members without their knowledge, and how he gives the example of how his mom wanted to give him something different because she didn't want to trap him with a name that would kind of guide his life already. So this is so he could be free to be whatever he wanted. So she gave him a name that wasn't taken from that kind of background, from her background or from her family. This is why she decided to call him Trevor. So these are things that you see throughout Africa. So the name is given because of the purpose. For the reason, when they are doing the naming ceremony, they try to see what would be the purpose of that child, because, and looking at his astrology and everything, and then they give him a name that is associated to that. So when you see all these words, they have been chosen because of what they represent, what of the energy that they are carrying, because of what they mean, and they are usually given to things that are usually following that kind of structure, or that kind of path, that kind of mission. Let's call it that way. So when the sun has different phases, they give the sun different names because the sun is doing different things. Essentially, this is what happens. So another thing is that in the movie, they say that the special attribute of Pumbaa is that Pumbaa smells, Pumbaa stinks. And why they use this, they stress on this. They know what they're doing. They stress on this because of the factor that to say to smell or to stink in African languages, you still go back to that same structure again. Here you have Eloi. In Eloi you have Pumbo. In Douala you have Enumba. In Kutu you have Vumba. In Gindo you have Humba. In Mahiva you have in Mavia you have Umba. In Kilangi you have Rumba. In Kambo you have Izumba. In Poto you have Humba. You see, this Humba structure is what ancestors were looking for here. So this is the same reason why they are looking. So this Amba is the same that they were looking for in the movie. This Mba is what they were looking for, and is what they were fishing for. So I just added a lot of it to show you that this is not only one language. It's like something that you see all over the place. So this is the reason why they use they use that in that reference in the movie. And there's a song about when they sing about that as well. So to say donkey, because the fact that they are choosing this the smelling is because the animals that are usually symbolizing Set, representing Set, are animals that smell, and animals that can impart a lot of chaos in the area. So when you see, as I said, the concept of Set is the concept of chaos and night and stuff like this. So when you see animals like a warthog or family of the pig, a pig can destroy your whole farm in just. So this is how our ancestors actually understood that a pig can destroy a whole farm in which you have been working for a whole month in 30 minutes, destroy everything. And I'm not talking about something I haven't seen. This is something that I observed in Africa. You a pig, one loose pig in your farm, and you're you are done. You are done. He will dig holes everywhere, eat stuff, destroy stuff, temple stuff, everything. In just a small amount of time. He likes when everything is just scattered like this. This is what the pigs like to do. So, and our ancestors understood that. So, if you want to talk about the concept of chaos, it's perfect animal. So when there are people, so when we say that we are not eating pigs, a pig is because of that. Because you don't want to put in that energy of chaos. It's just simple, straight as that. Because you know that that animal is what he does. You don't want to eat it. Same, done. You done. You make this. You tell people not to eat that animal because of those attributes. And it's not only that animal; it's all those animals that usually are prohibited to eat. Some have some kind of understanding that of such. So it's not religious in the sense of okay, it's just like that because someone said it. No, it's because of observation. They see what that animal does, they know, and now we know. And you also know that because of that kind of behavior, he's also host of all kinds of stuff. There's also all kinds of chaos going in within the meat of the animal himself. He has all kinds of bacteria and all kinds of stuff that are living within him because of what he is. He's that scattering things and total randomness. Let's say that way. But it's not a bad thing in itself because we are talking about duality here. Don't get me wrong. We are talking about yin and yang. So one cannot exist without the other. There's not if there's not Osa, if there's no Set, there's not Osa. So they both have to be existing for balance to happen. Here we are talking about that equilibrium. So this is what we are talking about here. We're talking about looking for harmony and balance. The whole concept, the whole reason for codifying all this was for the people that are looking at it to start understanding what is the how to navigate the world to position themselves in a place of harmony and balance. This is the purpose of codifying all this, of writing, because this is the whole movie is the reenacting of the story of Heru and of Osiris, of Osa and Set and Heru and Aset and is that whole story, is that whole mythology that has been put in this movie, and it's the same mythology that has been transferred in the story, in the Epic of the Monday, in the story of Sunjata Keita. Same. And it's not only there that you find it throughout Africa in so many places. It's the same symbolism, the same concept that are being displayed, and essentially they take their roots in nature. They take a lot of their roots in agriculture, because you have to understand that what our ancestors, when they first came into it is when they settled down and they started looking into doing some agricultural work. Is where they actually understood a lot of this concept, and it has to do a lot with agriculture and the way it has been codified. So, but we are not going to be talking about those aspects today, so we can just move on. Another animal that is used to represent Set is a donkey, and for the another reason is the donkey's smells also a lot, and the donkey is also stupid, kind of, at least this is why we like to say. This is why they say in the movie that Pumbaa is stupid. They say Pumbaa means stupid. Pumbaa does mean stupid, But Pumbaa means stupid because again, those energies with Umba are the energies of chaos, and usually chaos is stupid because chaos has that element of stupidity, because it's like when we say that if you fire will burn things until it will fire will burn things until it is done burning things, and it will go out on its own. So the stupidity comes from the fact that actually it's actually meant to say that chaos is ultimately usually self-destructive. If you introduce chaos in a system, chaos will destroy the system, and chaos will destroy itself after it destroyed the system. So this is why that contradiction is what is brought up by this concept of stupidity. So here you have the in Kewere you have Sikili to say donkey. In Kim you have Koro to say donkey. In Kanembu you have Kuru to say donkey. You see this? We are still in that Giri Gero kind of thing that we saw here earlier. It's the same. So, but then you have also Punda. Again, it's the same as what we saw earlier. It's the same as what we saw earlier here. When you say Panda here and Punda, we are still the same. So Bunda, Punda, and the Wolof has the Bam, Mbam, to say those two, to say both pig and donkey, the same word. So it makes you understand that that association is not random. It's because of the deity set and the animal that have been chosen to represent that concept. So, and it's the words of the knife, is the words of division, of chaos, and that was those words for division are the words of the knife, obviously, because what he used the knife for is to cut. And in the mythology, in the Kemetic mythology, what they say that that Set cut his brother into pieces, into 14 pieces. So this here we are in the energy of the knife. The knife does the cutting. So he's the knife. So that's it. We can move on. Okay, I think I'm gonna be doing other two. No, this is the last slide. This one wasn't so long because the concepts here are quite dense. So I decided to talk a little bit about that, a little bit more. Okay, so I argue that Set and we argue that Set and that Set and Anubis can be confounded in the conception here. As in here represented with the in the underworld, used by using these black hyenas or these black dogs. Now you see why they call Timon Timon is because in French the Timon is what you use to is the instrument that you use to is the instrument that you use to drive a boat, to direct a boat in the right direction. In the no yeah, I'm using technology here. To guide the boat in the right direction. So here is this wheel that you usually see in the pirate movies. Maybe I can show it on the screen so that you can see it. Is this wheel? So this is what we call this wheel that you see here is what in French you call timon, and it's usually used to give the direction. And that said is exactly why you see it here you see it here you see here in the movie they use Timon is riding Pumbaa. He's the one that is giving the direction. He's the one that is giving the direction to Pumbaa. And here is that same scene that you saw here. being the cat giving the direction to the knife is the same thing that you see here. But here you have it at two levels. The first level is Timon being the dogs here because he's meant to represent Anubis as well. He's here, he's the dog, driving the boat, giving the direction to the boat. But he's also he can also be set here, facing the serpent Apophis or Apopis or Apep, whatever you want to call it. So, and why is set facing the serpent? Because as I said, energy. If you are in the tradition and we are talking about energy here, you have to understand that if you are talking about energy here in terms of our tradition, when we have set being being the one fighting the serpent Apopis to allow the spirit of Ra to cross the underworld without being disturbed. It's not done randomly. The reason why Set is chosen is because of something called chaos theory. If you when a system is in a state of stalemate, let's say if a system is in a state of stalemate, only chaos can take it out of the stalemate. Only some, not chaos, only some random event can help it take it out of the stalemate. This is for one. So randomness is one of the features that allows the universe to continue existing. Because without randomness, then there's one of the a good example coming from a book of uh, his the reason I forgot the name of the I will look at the name of the book again and I'll maybe put it in the description box so that you can look at it. In the book, he talks about one of the contradictions or one of the how do you call it? One of the problems put by a French philosopher. I don't remember the name of the French philosopher either. But what he's essentially saying, this was interesting that he was taking a donkey as a reference there, because as I said, the donkey is the one that represents this concept of chaos. He's saying that if a donkey is trapped in a state where he's both hungry and thirsty in the same time, and both those feelings are going to be killing him, he has to choose between drinking and eating. If he chooses to, but he cannot choose because both equally are going to be killing him. So unless some random events happens to take him out of that state of stalemate, he's gonna die. He's gonna die stuck there because he's not gonna know what to do. So random events are the ones that are usually taking you out of that state of stalemate. It's like when you get what we call the luck. It's not that lucky. It's luck it's in your human small perception, but it's not luck in a higher system kind of perception, because there's always some causation to anything that happens. So uh, and this in that same area, the author was explaining that he was part of he was shown an experiment where there was one of these big rubber balls that had been blown big, and it was gigantic, so they were making it bounce in the room. It was bouncing totally randomly, and the guy who was explaining told him that if you poke that ball if you poke that ball in random moments, after a while in random moments the ultimate chaos that is been in will start settling down to a behavior that will slowly getting more steady, more ordered. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is exactly why our ancestors used chaos to tame chaos. Because the only way you take something is a system that is in a chaotic behavior is by introducing controlled chaos on your own. It's by introducing controlled random chaos on your own. And it's a concept that has been understood by ancestors so well that they put it in the way they express music. But this is another topic for another time. We will be doing this on having a whole discussion just on that topic. And that said, I think we are already 1 hour and 20 minutes. It's uh, I think it's a lot. So we'll be moving on with these slides in we'll be moving on. Maybe let me just do these other two slides and before we can conclude this. So now, as I said, here is they are taking Simba to the underworld, and as a matter of fact, after the underworld, when they take Simba out of this scene, it starts the Hakuna Matata. The Hakuna Matata starts, and that will explain. But before I'm saying, here you have Simba. What makes us know that is the underworld is because of his diet changing. They use this reference here, but it looks like something random and not thought, but it's very well thought here. Simba here is eating animals that have no bone structure. Why no bone structure? Because the bone is what is because of the concept of structure itself. That we understood the underworld as the noon as well, being a state where things are formless. They don't have a structure yet. So when you die, you go back to the formless state of your being. So when things don't have structure yet, they are in the underworld. And this underworld is what they try to represent here by saying that Simba is eating things that are slimy. And this sliminess and this concept is very well understood, and you find it in the work of Marcel Griol when he talks about the Nomo, the Marcel Griol conversation with Ogotemeli. Ogotemeli talks about the Nomo. Ogotemeli was a Dogon initiate, a very wise man. He informed Marcel Griol, who was a French ethnographist, on the Dogon religion. Let's say use the term religion or I would prefer on Dogon spirituality. So here is a quote from the book when he talks about the Nomo. He says, "Their eyes were red like those of men, and their forked tongue like that of reptiles. The flexible arms had joints. They had no joints. Their whole body was green and smooth, slippery like a surface of water, lined with short green hair announcing vegetation and germination. These geniuses, known as Nomo, were therefore two homogeneous products of God, of divine essence like himself, conceived without adventures and developed according to standard in the earthly matrix. Their destiny led them to heaven, where they received their father's instructions." So here he's describing here the Nomo here to be slippery like the surface of water, having no bone structure, arms flexible, had no joints. This is the kind of stuff that they are talking about here. They are describing a state of being formed, having no solid structure, being formless. Formlessness is what is the idea that is being imparted here. So this is what you see here in the movie. This is what you see here in the movie. And the dominant color is exactly what they chose here. The dominant color that they chose for Simba. When Simba decides to eat something, what does he pick? He picked this big one that is red in color. And the first thing when he says that it's slimy. So this is exactly what it says slippery here like the surface of the water. This is what we are trying to see. They are trying to say here. Smooth, slippery like the surface of water. Sliminess. So in the movie, this is how they are trying to convey it. So there, when Simba gets there, he's effectively in the underworld. So this is the last slide I'll be showing today. The king of the underworld. The king of the underworld is Osa. He's the first dead. He's the first dead. So he being the first dead, he's the king of the underworld. He is the first that came before all the other dead after him, and he's the one that is throning on the underworld. And here in the circle of life, you see him here at the bottom. Is here Osa. In the underworld, he's the one ruling. When the sun is at that state, the sun is at Osa state. Okay, that said, I'm not gonna be commenting on this image. I put it there because it's magnificent. The ancestors who actually painted this was, I don't know, and it's obviously carrying a lot of some symbolism. I urge you to look at this kind of stuff. It's very interesting to look at all this. It allows you to understand a lot in the way to remember what our ancestors actually were talking about when they were codifying this kind of stuff. But obviously, it has to do a lot with nature, and you have to take interest into anything that has to do with nature, especially when it has to do with Africa. All those documentaries that are happening in the Serengeti or in the Okavango Delta, those are the places where the ancestors who codified all these concepts were living at that time. So this is what they were observing. So there's no way you understand all this without going back and observing the same thing that they were observing, because it's what they were observing that allows you to see that, okay, there's this thing that they are saying about this animal. Oh, now I see. When I observe that animal, I see what they were talking about. So we really have to do that effort of going and looking. I don't have the ability of physically going there, but I try to. Back then I used to look at a lot of documentaries, animal documentaries in the Serengeti. It's not always done with the African perception of what they should be, of how we view those animals. But at least if you remove, even if you shut the comment, you can look at the scenes and observe for yourself and see what is happening, and it will open your mind to understand most of those concepts that are into the traditions, that have been codified into the traditions, because our ancestors were always trying to mimic life as it already expresses itself. You don't have to, if you want to build a house, you know that in nature the master builders are the termites. They already thought about everything and every detail, and the air inside and the storage of the food and the pathways and everything. So if you want to build, look at what the termites are doing, and you will understand everything about architecture, because they are the ones that are they you understand how to use land, how to use soil to build whatever you want to build. So this is how our ancestors understood life. They were like, okay, we are the last of creation here. Every other form of life already started doing something. So if we want to understand what we should be doing, the only thing that we should be doing is observing them. By observing other animals, those that reach the mastery of what they are doing, we can actually learn from them and reproduce the same thing, to make sure that we are in tune, we are in balance with the universe as it unfolds. So I will close here with this today with this poetry, with this poem that I wrote. I call it life flow, and here is represent to represent that concept of balance. Life flow. Change is my name, cause I stay the same. When I divide, I multiply. When I add, I subtract. I am the left, the right, and the equal sign of life's equation, the zero factor of truth. Okay, family, that was my pleasure. Uh, I will try to do the next one tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll be finishing this. Yeah, we'll definitely be finishing this tomorrow. And stay blessed. Uh, Stay on your path. Try to live your truth. We know it's not that easy, but at least try, as we all do. Try to live your truth. Okay, family. Stay blessed. Hotep. Haye, haye. Haye, haye.